Welcome back to the Arbitress YouTube channel. Today's class will be learning how to make this beautiful vintage kimono jacket. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so this dress can actually be an hairline dress or a flare dress depending on how you fold your fabric. So I'm working with this Ankara fabric and I'm going to be taping it with a black polish fabric. But first I'm going to draft the half scale pattern on my paper. So to do this, I'm going to be drafting both the front and back together, and I'm going to put this paper on fold like this so that I can do that. Okay, so the paper is on fold. The next thing is to take your shoulder measurements. So the shoulder I'm working with is 16 inches. Divided by 2 is going to give me 8 inches. So I have 8 inches here, and then the neckline is 3 inches. So 3 inches by 1 inch for the front, for the back, and 3 inches by 3 inches for the front. So I don't actually need this for the front, but I'm just going to draft the regular basic bodies. So I'm going to connect my armhole. There's not going to be any zipper on this. Remember, it has a open front. It has an open front. The front is completely open, so you don't need a zipper. That's why I don't have a zipper allowance for the back. So I'm going to measure 1 inch on the shoulder slope, on the shoulder downwards for the shoulder slope, and then I'll connect that to the neck point. And also I'm going to take my armhole measurement of 9 inches and I'm going to connect that also. From that point I'm going to take my bust measurements of 11 inches. That's 44 divided by 4 is 11 inches, and then I'm going to add 1 inch seam allowance to it. So there I'm going to draw my armhole curve, and you can actually stop your measurement from here, or you can just extend it by 2 inches so that you just have something to work with. So I'm going to stop the drafting here and then I'll cut it out. So this is just going to be a guide for me on my actual fabric. So I'm also going to cut out my armhole and also my shoulder slope. So you make sure you arrange it well. Okay. So once it's well arranged, I'm going to cut out the shoulder slope and also the back neckline. So now for the front neckline, because the front is going to be really straight and opened, I'm just going to slash off what I have here because I don't actually need the neckline. I'm going to be taping that side, so the neckline is not needed. That was why I said you don't actually need the 3 by 3 inches. So the same 3 inches that I use here for my neck width, I'm going to measure it on the hem also, and I'll make it into a straight line. And after making it into a straight line, I'm going to cut it off. So the shoulder is not affected. Remember, it's through the shoulder you're going to join your front and back together, and not the neckline. So joining your front and back together is not going to be affected by this because the shoulder remains the same. So this is my front and this is my back. So now we'll move to the fabric to cut this on our fabric. Okay, so to fold my fabric, I'm going to be folding it in a bias form. So that's why I said the fuller it is, it depends on how full you want it to be. Actually, you can just fold it a bit in form of an A-line, or just fold it completely in a triangle like this so that I can get a full flare. So for me, I'm just going to fold it a bit. So I have my Ankara fabric. The fabric is big, so I'm going to be explaining with this small paper. So now you have your Ankara fabric with this. The next thing, you're going to pick the tip of the Ankara like this and then fold it like you're folding a triangle. So like I said, you can just fold it a bit like what I have. You can see that I still have space here in form of an A line, but if you want it really big, you can also fold it completely to the other hand. So that's going to introduce more volume to your dress, and it's going to be fuller than folding it like I folded earlier. So for me, I'm just going to be folding it like a cone. So I'll just pick the tip of this Ankara now and then fold it over. So while folding, you make sure that the length that you have is going to be enough for your full length. The full length I'm working with is 40 inches for mine. So with seam allowance, I'm going to make it 41 inches. So you check that you have enough, and also on this upper part here, you check that you have enough to place these half bodies that we have. So you have enough that can contain your half bodies before you draft it. So by the time we transfer this to the fabric, you understand better, but just know that this is how you're going to fold it. So now I have folded my fabric. This is my entire fabric. You can see that it is slanted. It is no longer straight. I have folded it in a diagonal form like what I have here. So now this upper part, now I'm going to place my pattern on it to see if it's going to be enough for me. So this is my back pattern, as you can see, and this is the folded head of the fabric. So I'm just going to place it now on it. So after placing it on it, you can see that it can accommodate it perfectly. I'm going to measure from the shoulder. Okay, I hope you can see this. The fabric is big, so I'm placing it on it. Then now from this shoulder, now I'm going to measure to the hem to see that I have up to my 41 inches. So once I have it, I'm just going to pin down these bodies and then take that measurement. So just as you are seeing it now, I've pinned it down. So from my shoulder point now, I'm going to take that measurement 42 inches all the way to the hem. So I'm just going to mark 42 inches now, and then I'm going to rule a straight line there. So the 42 inches stops on that blue mark which I have here. So now I'm going to cut it out. So from my shoulder, I just measured 42 inches, and then I made it into a straight line, and I added 2 inches. Remember, my actual length is 40, so I decided to add 2 inches allowance to it for hemming, and then I'm cutting it on that point. So after cutting it, you can see the way I folded it. This is the wrong side of the fabric and this is the right side for us to see that line. So now you can see just the way your fabric is folded diagonally like this. That is what you are going to follow. That is the shape you are going to follow all the way to the armhole area. Okay, so I'm just following that shape, and then I'm going to use my basic bodies that I have there as a guide to cut out my neckline. Just exactly what I have there. You can add your half an inch for joining the shoulder, and then you are also going to cut out your armhole. So it's that simple. Okay, so you can see now I've cut out my armhole, my neckline, and this is what I have. You can see that it's in form of an A shape, and it's going to be a bit full also because the fabric, I folded the fabric more. So the same thing, the same way I folded the fabric for the back panel, that is the same way I'm folding for the front also, and then I'm going to place the pattern on it. So for the front also, I've placed my pattern. You can see that the front is smaller because we have slashed off 3 inches that is going to be replaced with our strip of fabric. So now the next thing now after this is just to also measure 42 inches, just like we did for the back, and then we'll cut it out. Okay, so I've also cut out the front now, so it's unfold. I'm going to slash it open because the front is going to be open, so I'm just going to slash it into 2, and then we'll move straight to the sleeve. So the sleeve is also an A-line sleeve, so you're going to be cutting it in a similar way. So this is what the front looks like. So if you bring your back now, you will see that your shoulder point where you're going to join remains the same, and then on the side where you're going to sew it together, it's also going to be the same. So so you can see what we have there. So now we're going to cut the sleeve. So the sleeve is also going to be cut in a various form. You can see how the fabric is folded, just like I showed us in the paper or the paper. So now I'm going to rule like a starting point, which is here. So on that point, I'm going to measure my cap's height of 4 inches downwards. Okay, then I'm just going to use my hand to create an armhole curve. So whatever armhole curve you're creating, you need to check that it's up to your armhole measurement, or you can just bring in one of the patterns and use the armhole to trace it. So if it's not enough, you just need to broaden it to accommodate it. So after drawing out your armhole, I hope you can see this. You see it by the time I'm cutting it. The next thing is to take the sleeve measurement. So from here now, I'm going to take my sleeve measurement, or the full sleeve measurement that I'm working with is 22 inches. Because I'm adding a strip of around 2 inches to it, I'm going to subtract that and make it 20 inches. So from this point now, the starting point, I'm going to measure 20 inches round. Okay, you can just mark it straight, or if you want it to be like a circular form, you just measure the 20 inches round like that. And then I'm going to use my scissors to cut this out. So you just cut following that diagonal shape that you have there. If you want it to be bigger, you just fold it more. So it's totally up to you and what you want to get. So now I've cut out my sleeve. This is what the sleeve looks like. It's just a small A-line sleeve. I'm going to use this to cut the other sleeves also. So I've gone ahead to cut out the other sleeve. I just placed it on it now, and then I'm going to use it to exactly cut out what I have on the first sleeve. So now the next thing is for us to start sewing all our pieces together. So this is the back panel. I've removed the pattern. I'm just going to lay it down right side, and then I'm going to lay the two front panel on it, and then I'll go over to the sewing machine now and then sew it together on the shoulder and also on the sides. So after sewing it together on the shoulder and the sides, I'm going to sew my sleeve on the armhole part, then I'll bring it back to show us how we're going to fix the strip. So I've gone ahead to sew it on the shoulder and also on the side. So it's actually turned out quite big, and I like it with that little fold that I made. So when you turn it to the right side, this is what we have. You can see our A-line sleeve. I did not close this completely because of the fabric that I want to add on the hem. So now turning it out, this is what it looks like. This is what the jacket looks like. So now I've gone ahead to cut out my very long strip of fabric. The width of the fabric is 6 inches, so when it's unfold, it's going to be 3 inches. So I have it like this, a polished plain fabric, and it's really long. So this is the width, and I folded this and ironed. Okay, so by the time I folded it and ironed in 1/2 inch for seam allowance, I have 2.5 inches left. So now what I'm going to do now is to use this to tape round this hem from the hem all the way to the first center front to the back, and then back to the other center front. So now I'm just going to suspend this fabric in between my polished fabric now, and then I'm going to sew it very closely. So I'll sew this all round. I'll sew it now and bring it back to show us. So now I'm on the machine. As you can see, I've already folded in my 2 seam allowances. So what I'm just going to do now is to place my Ankara in between the seam allowance now, and then fold it on it, and I'm going to sew very closely. So it is that simple. So I'll keep doing that till I run it through all the center front and also the back. So now you can see that it is neatly finished both in and out. So I've also taped. I finished taping it. So now the sleeve that I left, the hem of the sleeve, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to suspend it in between this strip of fabric. So I've gone ahead to also hem it on the lower part using this my strip of fabric to cover it up. You can see how neat it is. So now I'm going to close up the remaining part now and also hem the lower part of my outfit. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and create a band. So now I've hemmed the hemline also. So all you just need to do now is take this to the ironing table and your dress is ready. Okay, so this is what the dress looks like now. You can see that it is neat because we just suspended our rough edges in between the strip of fabric that we have. So this is what it looks like. This is our A-line sleeve. You can see how big it is. If you want it bigger, you just need to spread your fabric more. This is the other sleeve, and this is the hem of the dress, and it is also hemmed and pressed. So like I said, I just cut out this band and then I turned it in and out, and I'm going to use it to tie it on the waist. So now I'll take it to the mannequin so that we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what the dress looks like. You can see the fabric that we added on the tip, and this is what it looks like on the lower part. So you can see it's a flare dress because it's really full, like we can see here, and this is the A-line that we have on the sleeve also. It's a very simple tutorial and it's really beautiful. I hope you enjoyed making this tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.